Hi, I'm Karissa, and I'm an OK housewife.
Hi, I'm Dacia. I'm also an OK housewife.
And today we have talked about what we wanted to talk about.
Mm.
And I think we've decided on coping skills.
Yeah,
We want to address some coping skills. It was Dacia's idea. So,
feels right.
okay.
Feels right now.
What made this feel right now?
I think, well, there's a lot of things, but we don't have enough time today for that. But I just think the stage of life that we're in, for me, I feel like I need a lot of coping skills.
Okay.
And I feel like in the last 5 years, I've had to really learn how
Proper
proper.
coping skills.
Yes, not the bad ones.
Yes. I mean, coping skills, like, they come with maturity.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree? Like
Yes.
emotional maturity.
Yes.
You use, but what's funny is I feel like in some areas I've swayed like back on some of my coping skills.
Like what? Like what? Which skills?
Like I obviously don't turn to substances
Mhm.
for my coping, like alcohol and drugs, right? But it's just like I feel like I used to have more control over if I were to overeat as a coping skill.
Mm. You have less control
I have
now.
less control now for whatever reason. Probably hormone based.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
I also think it has a little bit of the like give a crap meter.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think about like the way I viewed myself when in my 20s. I was so hard. I mean, I'm still hard on myself, but
For
like,
sure.
I had a lot I could restrict very easily.
Same. And it was like now I don't feel like I have that same control for some reason.
No. I mean, I don't think I ate a carb for like 4 years. And I was fine. And now it's like I go a couple hours and I'm like,
Yeah, it's okay.
which also we've learned that is not healthy and that's not long term. I mean, you can't do that long term, but
No.
just using that as an example. Um, yeah, I do feel like I was thinking about this earlier, and obviously, like the most traumatic thing I've gone through in my life was losing my mom,
Right.
and I mean, it is very eye opening to look back at how I handled that. Um, I I I drank a ton. That's
Yeah.
all I did.
Yeah.
At night. I
Which
couldn't
is
sleep.
understandable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm so thankful to have had friends and especially Toby who didn't judge me and just realized like this isn't who she is. Like, but
She's just going through it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That spending,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it was whatever could like get me to the next hour almost like at that point.
Right.
And unfortunately, I do feel like drinking and spending, but more so drinking, carried on for probably the first 2-ish. Well, and then we had COVID. So then it was just like,
Everyone was drinking.
I mean,
Everyone.
I felt so bad for the people that I found out were pregnant during COVID. I was like,
bless. I
how
know.
did you survive?
My memories of COVID were lots of alcohol and lots of like, oh, what are they called? Like charcuterie meats.
Yeah.
Because like everyone was
Meats and liquor.
meats and liquor. Because Kevin would like go to Sam's and he'd be like, this is all they had.
Yeah, if you ordered toilet paper and they gave you salami, you're like, thank you. I guess this is what I use. What are you gonna do?
I'm just gonna sit in my room and
Eat my
eat my meats
eat
and
my
liquor.
salami log.
Yeah, it was dark times.
It was.
Yeah.
But so I do feel like after COVID and everything, then I kind of was like, this is not sustainable, and nor is this who I want to be. And
Right.
it had just gotten to where it was just a pattern. It's
Right.
not even like it was doing anything. It just was a routine. Like I take my shower, get ready for bed, pour myself a drink.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of us
Tons
do.
of people do.
Yes.
I mean,
And obviously, we always say this, we come from a place of no judgment. If that's where you're at, that's where you're at.
right.
I just realized that wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. And I
Yeah.
was at a healthier place to make that decision. But, a couple of years before that, I wasn't at a healthier place to make that. But
Yeah.
and so when we talked about this, I was thinking like, what are some of my coping mechanisms now? And I as much as I'd like to say I think I have some healthy ones, like I walk a lot,
Mhm.
those kinds of things, and when I do them consistently, I see a very big jump in my mental health
Mhm.
and the positive side. Um, but I think I replaced it like with scrolling,
Right. Scrolling can definitely be a coping. Mhm.
which it's kind of like I've talked about like when I read, I don't want to read to become a better person. Like I want to read to like escape. I know we laugh at that, but I
The
wouldn't.
fact that the words come out of your mouth, "I don't wanna read to become a better person."
I know that is not the end game there.
That is not my goal.
It's just not. Um, and my book club members can sound off that that's exactly how we all feel.
I'm sure most book people would,
Yeah.
but, like, I don't know why my brain is different to where I'm just like, "I can't."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like with TV or movies or whatever. It's like an escape. And I've realized that I think scrolling has just become an escape
I
for
agree.
me.
I'm in the same
Um,
boat.
and Chris and I were just talking about how Lent is coming up and
Mhm.
what we're thinking about. Well, what she is
What
thinking about.
Carissa is thinking about
Yeah.
giving up.
I
Mhm.
am not giving up anything at this moment.
Yeah.
Um, but we both agreed that like that is something that we struggle with.
Mhm.
Um,
Have you ever speaking of scrolling, have you ever purchased something and you don't remember it? Because, like, here's how my morning typically goes, and this is why I want to give this up so I can, break this cycle. But I get my coffee
mhm.
on my nightstand,
Mhm.
grab my phone,
Yep.
sit
Immediate.
there, scroll. Well, apparently, when I've been still a little asleep,
You
I've
bought
ordered things. Has that
Oh,
ever happened to you?
I haven't done that.
Okay.
Mine used to be like at night,
Oh, okay.
like I would be sitting there and I'd have like
A
one and a
drink.
half drinks. And then but that was more during COVID,
Sure. Oh,
you
yeah.
know? I mean,
COVID was horrible when
well,
it
it's like
came to
you're not
that.
really shopping, so it was like that was the exciting thing. It was like,
Yeah.
what's gonna show up on the
Boom,
doorstep?
boom.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, even at one of my old jobs, we used to talk about how, if, how your week was going depending on how many packages were on your doorstep, like, throughout the week.
Oh, yeah. So if
Like,
there's a ton, then it was like,
it was a
whoo,
rough week.
it was a rough
Mhm,
week. I
mhm.
paid for it,
Yep,
literally.
yep. And, like, back when I worked, corporate life, I drank every night too. That was a coping mechanism.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I wonder if that's rooted in the fact that, like, maybe you don't feel control in another area
Mhm.
in your life in some sort. I'm not sure, but
Yeah. And I do feel like there's this very big wellness shift. We've talked about it. I think everybody at some point has probably talked about it, like away from alcohol. Like the generation behind us consumes alcohol at such a lower rate.
yes,
Now, I do think it's being subsidized with other things.
agreed. I read about this just yesterday. It's funny you mentioned that. They're calling it California sober.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
How do you know all these terms?
I don't know.
Because I just had to read it in the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, I don't ever read that.
Okay. Well,
Mine's from Instagram. California sober. Probably some Bravo show.
right. So
Yeah.
they substitute it with marijuana, ketamine, or what's the other one? There's another one that they were doing. Mushrooms.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
psychedelics.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like no more alcohol, but they apparently have these people that are supposed to like be sober and be there with them as they
Mhm.
go in and out.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like a therapy
Therapy.
session,
Yeah.
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 And here's the deal, like, I don't know where I know for me, that's not an option, that's just not that makes me nervous, that makes me
Makes me scared.
scared.
Me too.
Um, but I do feel like the data is correct in that these things are much better health-wise for our
Yeah.
body than alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like combat that and be like, well, just drink some alcohol instead. You know what I'm saying?
Alcohol would be better.
Alcohol, um,
What about like, have you seen like, for example, the out of office stuff? Like a girl named Blake, and she really promotes the out of office tinctures.
oh, yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Um, I don't know. I guess in my mind, I feel like we're in a society where like we're in a no rules society anymore.
Right.
So nothing even surprises me anymore. Honestly, if they were like, "So cocaine is legal," I'd be like, "Yep."
They
I
put it back in the Coke.
Yeah.
We're all
I
good.
mean, I'd be like, "Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
That's not shocking to me at
Yeah.
all." Um, whether or not I agree with it in my own life isn't relevant, but I don't know. I the more I think about coping and the more I think about like our life in general, especially like we talk about like especially the ages of my kids. Like I'm not home a lot because I live in my car.
Right.
Um and I feel like it my mental health is way worse than it was before and I can't figure out why. And I don't know if it's because I'm constantly mentally juggling things.
Mhm.
Um but there's not a solution there
Mhm.
because like working out takes time and it takes like I have to set aside that time and like sometimes it's just not there.
It isn't
And
unless
you wake up.
unless you get your butt up.
Yes.
We talked about this. Like, yeah, the time is there, but you may have to get up at 5
But
a.m.
but then it's like you read things and it's like, but is it
Sleep.
better? Yep. To
Mhm.
compromise sleep, so go to bed earlier.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, sometimes I can't go to bed earlier because my son doesn't get out of practice until 9 p.m.
that's crazy.
Oh, that's
Does that
nothing.
happen on a school night even?
Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh.
all the time.
Like, there needs to be some boundaries there.
But these kids are almost in high school. This is, I get like
I don't remember any practices going until 9 p.m. in high school. Do you remember any of that?
I don't remember a lot. I'm sure there were. Maybe there weren't. I don't know. But I think you're right in saying like youth sports
They're
is
out of control.
not anything like any of us millennials
Experience.
experience.
Right.
It is a whole other level of psychosis
Yes.
that we as parents willingly are doing. And it's like, I mean, Toby and I constantly have like check-ins with each other of like, we're doing the right thing, right? Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but I just watched a thing the other day and it gave totals of how much parents are paying for youth
Extracurricular
extra yes.
activities.
In over from 12 on.
Mm.
12 through high school. Basketball,
Uh-huh.
50,000.
A year?
No, over that time.
Oh, okay.
But still, when
Yeah.
you break that down, and it's the least expensive one.
So in 6 years, 50,000. So that's roughly 8 or 9 a year, right?
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
But they were talking about like what's happening to families. And
Because of it.
yes, like that people aren't saving. People aren't able to put into their retirement because of youth sports. And the thing is it's not even really an option anymore. Like it's not like, you know what, I'm just gonna not do it. Because then you really are punishing your child if it is a sport that they like.
Yeah, it's just like with my girls' ballet class. Like, when I talked to the owner of the ballet class, she was like, "Hey, I just have to tell you up front, we don't compete." And I was like, "Wonderful.
Yeah.
I just want them to come to have fun.
Mhm.
There's no more just here to have fun.
No.
It's intense."
Oh yeah,
I
from
mean,
from the first step.
yes. I mean, some of us, like, I'm sure there are parents out there that know that their kids are not going to be NFL or NBA
Mhm.
or whatever stars, right? Like, and it's like they can't even participate in a quality program
No.
without it being something that intense. So, where's like the middle ground?
Your options, I mean, like here in Oklahoma, your options are basically like the YMCA,
Hmm.
and a few other like places I won't name because I don't want to give
To offend
them.
anybody?
No, I just don't want to give them any credit because I don't like them.
Oh, okay.
Um, and or you do competitive, or they don't play because, like you said, there's really not a middle ground
Yeah, there's
anymore.
not a middle ground anymore.
But yeah, so I just like youth sports. We're just so busy, and I
Hmm.
do feel like this is beating a dead horse because I think we all hear this all the time. And
Right.
and I'm sure our parents felt like that in just a different way when
Right.
we were growing up.
Yeah, possibly. Although, like, I feel like with our parents, though, it was much more like, hey, it's my way or the highway.
Right.
I mean, this isn't good for our family. We're not doing it.
Yes, there was I do think like the family was looked at more of a unit
Yeah.
versus a bunch of individuals living under one home.
Yeah. And I don't know why that's changed as far as, I mean, I catch myself even doing it with the kids, you know? Like, I didn't want to tack on a third activity for my kids, but I go to my husband and I say, hey, what do you think about Georgia doing this or Betty doing this? And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's a weird, like, we didn't talk about it in great depth before making the decision.
Mhm.
We just were like, we jumped in.
Right.
And I've even added up how much we pay per month and told my husband, and he's just like, okay,
Mhm.
like, you want to better your kids and you want them to have these opportunities, but at the same time, what is it sacrificing
Right.
in the process?
Right. Well, and that is something like with our oldest who I'd say he can be more anxious than our youngest for sure. Especially now at his age and being in like a very competitive sport,
Mhm.
trying to teach him that like perfection is not the goal.
Right.
And trying to teach him coping mechanisms of
Yeah.
like, hey, when you get really stressed out before a game, like here's some things we can do.
Right.
Um, but that falls on us as parents to teach them that and not tell them, but to be living that out.
Right.
And
They
I,
need to see it.
yes, and
Mhm.
I feel that weight a lot right now.
Yeah.
Just having a teenager, knowing that like he really is taking in everything that we're doing.
Mhm.
And he will one day do those things.
Mhm.
I see myself doing all the things my parents did, whether I thought they were right or wrong at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's kind of like why I wanted to talk about this because I think we can all benefit from evaluation of our own whys. Like,
Mhm.
why am I scrolling? There's nothing inherently wrong with
Mhm.
social media and scrolling, but I've just learned it's not, I mean, it is literally so I can check out.
Right. It is a checkout. That
Right.
is the whole goal. That's why I do it. It's almost like, you know, it may have looked different for our parents. Like,
Right.
some people would turn on the news
Yes.
in the morning,
Yeah.
right? And that was their scroll. They would
Mhm.
just sit there, drink their coffee, watch the news. Like, I can't remember my parents doing that, but I remember my grandparents.
Right.
They would turn on the news and it would be on while they were eating their
Mhm.
breakfast. But yeah, I have, with my counselor, I've studied as far as coping skills, and any action we do, she traces it back like, imagine you are a tree
Mhm.
and your roots are why you do what you do. And then the leaves are our behaviors.
Okay.
So it's like we have all these leaves that come out as to why we do things, but when you trace them back down, most of the time we're believing something that isn't true when you get to the root.
Huh.
So, like, trying to think of an example right now of what it could be. Oh, just like, being defensive about something.
Mhm.
And when you get to the root of it, you may believe that you're not enough.
Yeah.
And then, like, she gave me this card to keep with me at all times that had verses that reaffirmed those fears.
Mhm. Mm.
So, like, that has always helped me when it comes to coping skills, not all the time, but like when I start doing these actions that I know are unhealthy and they're not a healthy coping skill, I take a step back and I go, okay, what am I believing there?
Right.
But with my negative coping skills, I mean, I know I've turned to drinking before
Yeah.
in certain seasons. But it's like kind of like cravings, like when you go through times where you're just like hooked on one thing and you're
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh, I have to have this coffee
Right.
like every day. I love it so much." that's kinda how alcohol has been for me,
Right.
where it's kinda like I crave having this one thing,
Mhm.
and then I'll, like, get out of the phase, and then I don't want it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't really feel like that's necessarily an addiction for me or even necessarily a coping skill. It was
Yeah.
just something that
More of like a compulsion
more
at
of a
times.
compulsion.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, "Oh, this is my latest kick right now."
For sure.
Like, it could be sparkling water
Yeah.
next week,
Yeah.
like, you just never know what's gonna
Yeah.
get you
I
going.
the more I would think about like when I would be drinking consistently, it was, you know, I realized that the lie that I was believing was that like I'm so stressed out. This is the only thing that will
Help me.
take the edge off. And that's
Mhm,
what I just kept those are like the words that would always go through my head. I just need something to like take the edge off.
mhm.
When in reality it added way
More,
so much more.
'cause you don't sleep well,
No. But
and
I
then
that's now. I didn't in my 30s. It never affected my sleep.
really?
No, and
Oh,
now I'm to the point where, like, I having a one glass of wine, and I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm not gonna get good sleep tonight, and it's gonna take, like, 3 nights to catch up."
isn't that weird?
And then you're like, "It's not worth
Not
it."
worth it. I
And I
know.
remember even just, like, a few years ago hearing people say that and thinking,
Uh-huh.
like,
What's
"That's"
wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when it starts affecting your
Mhm,
everyday life. I mean, Chris and I showed up at our house today and I'm like, I'm exhausted
mhm.
because
We
we
had
had storms
storms.
and our dog, we have an elderly dog that is in his probably his last stages. So he's a lot.
Mhm,
And so you're up and you're moving and then I couldn't go back to sleep. And I woke up this morning and I'm like, I feel like we have a newborn in our home.
mhm.
Um,
The lack of sleep, achiness
right.
that you get.
And like the part of me just wanted to go back to home and take a nap,
Mhm,
but I forced myself to go to the gym.
mhm.
I'm proud of myself, but I
Good
still would
job.
really like a nap.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, so I think that's very interesting take about the roots and the leaves. I think that's really it's an easy way to like kind of see.
and to diagnose the behavior.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, like, why do I do what we do? Usually, it's because we're believing something that isn't true about ourselves, and, you can reaffirm that with
Hmm.
what God believes about you
Right.
because He's our biggest fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think just giving yourself grace and maybe trying to change those behaviors. I know for
Mhm.
me, I would try just like I mean, I'd always do like dry January. Well, then February was like wetter than wet, you know? It was like tsunami February. And
Wine wave.
right. And so I remember, I guess it was probably like 3 years ago. I was like, that is clearly not serving me.
Mhm,
And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do where I only have like 2 drinks on the weekend and no drinking during the week.
mhm,
And the way that it like extended out throughout the whole year.
mhm,
And so I just realized I'm not like an all or nothing. I feel like you're more of an all or nothing person.
mhm.
I am not. I wish I could be.
I have, like, a fear of addiction, though,
Yeah.
so that's why I won't do anything consistently.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Like, I'll do something for a minute, and then I'll be like, "Ooh, this is a pattern.
Yeah.
Nope,"
Yeah.
and then I'll stop. So I've always been that way, even when it comes to, like even with exercising, it's weird. It's like I'll do something
And then you're afraid
consistently.
that you got addicted to exercise?
Well, it's just like I have to change it up. I'm like, "Oh, nope, been doing this a month, it's time to change it up." Like, it's weird. It's like you said, like, it's almost like a compulsion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but which
I
isn't healthy
I
either,
I gotta be
but
honest, I would love it if I woke up and I was like, I am so addicted to working out.
no, I'm not addicted to working out, but, like, I will do a type of workout,
No, I get yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think everybody goes through that, right? Like, you get just burnout on the type of workout.
For sure.
Yeah, but, like, um,
Well,
yeah.
like bar. Like that was your like workout of choice for so long.
Yeah, and I did it for years, and then I got out of it. It was like I can remember when I went to bar one time when I was pregnant with my firstborn,
Mhm.
and I was like, "This is really hard. I can barely breathe. Not coming back."
Could you pause my membership, please? Because it ain't gonna be used.
And I didn't. I didn't come back my entire pregnancy. I wish I would have because it would have made,
Yeah.
probably everything easier, right?
Yeah.
But I was just so tired and short of breath, and that was the hard part with
Yeah.
that. But Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird what we turn to in our hard moments and just to like make it through life. You
Mhm.
know, life is not easy. I enjoy the ups and downs, but at the same time, it's like we all deal with some really heavy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with coping, with everything, giving yourself grace and realizing like, man, everybody's doing something wrong. Like we're all doing it wrong at
Mhm.
some point,
Mhm.
and just to try better the next day. I'm like, if I can just be a tiny bit better than I was the day before, then like at least I have the right trajectory.
Right, little improvements.
Right.
And I feel like I don't know how you feel, but I feel like as far as growing as an individual, I feel like I could say that that has happened over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I feel like in that area, but there are other areas that I could definitely improve on.
For sure.
But
Yep.
yeah, but little steps and making it along the way. We hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening.